The Lord be with you. I'm Deacon Keith Fournier, and our first reading is taken from the second book of Kings. When Athaliah, mother of Ahaziah, learned that her son was dead, she promptly murdered all those of royal stock. But Jehosheba, daughter of King Jehoram and sister of Ahaziah, surreptitiously rescued Jehoash, the son of Ahaziah, from among the princes who were to be murdered. And she put him with his nurse in the sleeping quarters. In this way, she hid him from Athaliah, and he was not killed. He stayed hidden with her in the Temple of Yahweh for 6 years, while Athaliah governed the country. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent for the regimental commanders of the Carians and the guards, and then had them brought to him in the Temple of Yahweh. He made a pact with them, put them under oath, then showed them the king's son. He gave them this order. The regimental commanders did everything as Jehoiada the priest had ordered, and each one brought his men, those coming on duty on the Sabbath and those going off duty on the Sabbath. And they reported to Jehoiada the priest. The priest then issued the regimental commanders with King David's spears and shields, which were kept in the Temple of Yahweh. The guards then took their position, each man with his own weapons in his hand, from the south corner of the temple to the north corner of the temple, all around the altar and the temple. Then Jehoiada brought the king's son out, crowned him, and gave him a copy of the covenant. And they made him king and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!" On hearing the people shouting, Athaliah joined the people in the Temple of Yahweh. When she looked, there stood the king on a dais, as the custom was, with the officers and trumpeters at the king's side, and all of the people of the country rejoicing and blowing their trumpets. Then Athaliah tore her clothes and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Jehoiada the priest then gave the orders to the commanders in charge of the troops. "Take her out under guard and put to death anyone who follows her." For the priest had already said she must not be killed inside the Temple of Yahweh. They seized her, and when she reached the horses' entry to the palace, she was killed there. Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh, the king, and the people, that they would remain Yahweh's people. And another one between the king and the people. All the people of the country then went to the temple of Baal and demolished it. They smashed its altars and its images, and they killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. The priest made arrangements for security for the Temple of Yahweh. All the people of the country were delighted. The city, however, made no move, and Athaliah was put to death inside the palace. And our responsorial psalm is taken from Psalm 132. Yahweh has sworn to David and will always remain true to his word. I promise that I will set a son of yours upon your throne. If your sons observe my covenant and the instructions that I have taught them, their sons too forevermore will occupy your throne. For Yahweh has chosen Zion. He has desired it as a home. Here shall I rest forevermore. Here shall I make my home as I have wished. There I shall raise up a line of descendants for David, and light a lamp for my anointed. I shall clothe his enemies with shame, while his own crown shall flourish. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. And Jesus said, "Do not store up treasures for yourselves on earth, where moth and woodworm destroy them, and thieves can break in and steal. But store up treasures for yourselves in heaven, where neither moth nor woodworm destroys them, and thieves cannot break in and steal. For wherever your treasure is, there will your heart be too." The lamp of the body is the eye. It follows that if your eye is clear, your whole body will be filled with light. But if your eye is diseased, your whole body will be darkness. If then the light inside of you is darkened, what darkness that will be. The Gospel of the Lord.